What makes the Raptors backcourt so challenging to play against?
Really strong, physical, excellent athletes. Obviously, Lowry and DeRozan both ability to hit really tough shots and get to the line at an elite rate. All those things combined is why they're so difficult to defend. It's easier said than done because they usually have a physical advantage on their position from a size standpoint and a strength standpoint. And then they don't give up anything in athleticism or speed. And so it's good. It's a really good duo, but they've got other good players too, and this is a heck of a team.
Coach, how important is it to slow down Scola, considering the past 2 games that he's had getting out really strong?
He's been really good in the first quarter in both of those games. It's important. I do think that it's one of those things where you can you have to go back and look and say, okay, were we defending the right way? Why did he get his points? Are there things that we can do different without overreacting and without saying, okay, those other 2 guys are critically important too, and making sure you're good on the glass is critically important and everything else. But Scola's a good player. He's been a good player for a long time, and I think the fans of international basketball knew it long before he came into the NBA, and he's given us fits the last 2 games, specifically in the first quarter.
Brad, everybody sees what Kelly can do offensively, but defensively, when he's effective, what kind of player is he?
Well, I think he's a position player. He's a guy that can keep people in front of him. He actually switches better than people think. He's got pretty good feet on the perimeter, and he's good in our pick and roll system. But he's I think when Kelly's greatest strength on the defensive end is adding to the team defense. And a guy that's been here for 3 years and a guy that is that kind of size and understands the game and feels good about the game has slowed down for him in some ways, can have a good impact.
Is he learning to use his height more and more? I mean, 3rd year in the NBA.
Well, I think that you've got guys that he's not. It's not fair to compare him to a 7-foot shot blocker because he's not a shot blocker. He's a guy that has to use position. He has to use his base and his feet and move and keep guys in front of him and make the right play. I think that he took the charge in Philly the other night and great positioning. The other day against Orlando, he had some great positioning plays. So I think it's a lot less about height. I think it's a lot more about being in a stance and playing low and being playing lower longer than the guy he's playing against.
Any update on Jay? Has he been able to do anything the last couple of days?
He's shot. He shot yesterday with Jamie Young for a while. He shot pregame today. But from what I've been told, I don't think there's any movement shooting. I think it's just spot shooting. So no real update. He's going to go on our trip. And, again, I said this the other day. I don't want to put a timeline on him, but I don't anticipate him playing early in the trip.
You said a couple guys back to the interview. Does that leave you thin at all?
I don't think so right now. I mean, obviously, if we have more issues, we'll address that as we move forward.
Expect those guys to be on the trip?
I expect them to, yeah. I haven't talked to Danny about that yet, but I would expect that. I think they play tomorrow, Friday, on their trip, and then they're going to hop over and join us after that.
Do you spend any time looking at the standings and seeing who you might play in the playoffs? That kind of
thing? It's hard to be naive to it, but I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. I've got a general feel for where all the teams are. I don't know the exact records. I don't know the exact tiebreakers and all that other stuff, but we've said all year the East is deep and the East has been good, and you're going to have to play well through 82 games to get into the playoffs. And so, here we are.
How much do you buy into the fact that beating a team like Toronto, a team you can see into the playoffs, would matter going forward?
We have to, any win against any of the other 29 teams is important for us because it counts as one towards what we want to do.
Do you guys feel you have something to prove against a team like Toronto where you haven't won, you haven't beat them this season?
I mean, I think you always feel that way as a competitive person, but I think it's more important to focus on playing good basketball than focus on anything else.
Coach, the second unit's struggled in the open second and fourth quarters to score. Is there anything that you have to do to improve so there's no offensive drop-off?
Well, I think, obviously that unit had a real rhythm when we were healthy. And so, the hope is ultimately to get back to that. But in the meantime, I think they just have to continue to learn and grow together. We're playing some new guys in that group, and I think they've had their moments. That lead the other day went up to 13 or 14, and then we, slipped in the middle of the fourth quarter and let it back down. So I think that's something that has to happen over time, somewhat, than anything else.
Do they miss Evan as the main playmaker as that unit?
I think anytime you have a guy that is of that caliber and he's not in that unit, certainly there's going to be an adjustment. But I think Terry's done a lot of good things, and I think Terry can add to us, and this is good that he's getting this type of experience, I think.
How much does your hoops junkie, the Northern Iowa Texas A&M game, is that?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
No.
The whole ending, I know you heard about it. Would that change how teams, even at this level, protect leads, inbounds? Could that be,
I know this. Ben Jacobson, I've known Ben for a while, and I've seen his teams play. In fact, we played against Northern Iowa in the early 2000s when I was a young assistant. Greg McDermott was the head coach, and Ben Jacobson was his assistant. Those guys are as good at coaches as there are, and, those things happen. Those things happen, and sometimes, it stinks. But we've all been there as coaches and players and lost leads, and I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. But you certainly you feel for them in those situations. I do, because hey, we've all been there.
Do you ever factor in the fact that they're kids?
I always do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hey, the thing that I will say about the NCAA tournament as a general statement is, it's remarkable what those 18 and 22-year-olds are doing on that stage. With that tension, with everybody watching, with the amount of poise that it takes, and it's tough. And all of those kids deserve a heck of a acknowledgement for getting there, and then being willing to put it out there on that stage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Coach, Patterson and Ross, they're shooting bigs. Is that something others?
Scola. Scola's killed us shooting the ball. Patterson's killed us shooting the ball. Ross is a scary guy because, coming off the bench, he's a guy that can put up a lot of points and can do so on hard shots. It's not like he's just a 3-and-D guy where he's standing in the corner waiting for somebody else to make a play for him. They run a number of counters that are really good misdirection plays that, that Dwayne and his staff have had in for him that can get you on a given night. And if he's making those shots on the move like he did in Game 1 here this year in November, one of our first games of the year, that becomes a tough team to guard. And so that's another good weapon for them.